All right, so this is day 2 of graphing parabolas. We already started the other day. This is just another way, depending on the form that they are in. Okay, so step 1 of this says make sure the polynomial is equal to 0. And you might need to move some items to the opposite side of their current location. Step 2 says factor the polynomial if you need to. Or you can run quadratic formula if you want, because you're going to get the same two values. Step 3 says set each parentheses of the factored form equal to 0. Solve for x. When you've done this, you've found the x-intercepts, which are the two values on the x-axis where the polynomial crosses. All right, step 4 says graph the x-intercepts. Step 5, find the vertex, which is, we use that formula on Monday, x equals negative b over 2a. Plug this x value into the polynomial to discover the y value. Step 6, plot the vertex. Step 7, sketch the graph, making sure the graph goes through the x-intercepts as well as the vertex. All right, so let's do an example. So example number 1, we're going to jump right in here. And the first thing is, step 1 has already been done for us. It's already equal to 0. Step 2 has already been done to us. It is factored. So right now we're getting to step 3. So we're going to take this x minus 2 and set it equal to 0. So x indeed equals 2. And this x plus 4 and set it equal to 0. So x equals negative 4. What I've just found are my two x-intercepts. So now I can go ahead and graph these. All right, so going over here, I can graph where these two are, which is 1, 2, 3, 4. Put a dot there, and at 1, 2. So I know that. Now with this one, it's funny, as I was looking at this, I'm like, oh, I think I'm going to need to do a quick FOIL or box method, you know. So, all right, so here I'm going to do the graph, just so we can see it pretty. Now notice, I'm making my graph because I noticed where this is coming from. So I know I've got 1, 2, and I have an x-intercept, 1, 2, 3, 4, and I have an x-intercept. And my vertex is at negative 1, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So there's my vertex. I'm going to write a V there. So I'm going to draw my parabola from there. So some of these forms, that may be easier for some of you to just go straight to that. All right, so here we go. This really is starting from, so make sure the polynomial is equal to 0. It is equal to 0. Factor the polynomial. So when I factor this, and I can do this method as we've done a ton in class, okay, where here I have x squared. This is my minus 6x, 8. Well, I do my multiplication. 1 times 8 equals 8. Factors of 8 are 1 times 8 and 2 times 4. Which ones, if both of them are negative, are going to give me a 6. Well, that's a negative 2x and a negative 4x. So now I'm finding my GCF. So here I have an x. Here I have an x. Between negative 2x and 8 is going to be a negative 2. Miss Maxter taught me a trick that if you see this at the top, take the sign. So that's why it's a negative 2. Also, if you see it at the left, take the sign. So this one's going to be a negative 4. So we have x minus 2 times x minus 4 is equal to 0. So now to find out my x-intercepts, I can simply go, okay, x minus 2, didn't need parentheses, equals 0. So x equals 2. X minus 4, set it equal to 0. So x equals 4. So there I have found my wonderful, there's my x-intercepts. I can go ahead, before I graph it, I'm going to go ahead and find my vertex. My vertex formula, remember, for x is, it's not v equals, it is x equals negative b over 2a. So in this deal, my b value is 6, so it's going to be negative 6 over 2 times 1. So x equals 3. And then I'm going to plug it in up there, and I get 3 squared, which is 9. Okay, so I'm doing this 3 squared minus 6 times 3 plus 8. So I have 9 minus 18, which would be negative 9 plus 8 would be negative 1. So y equals negative 1. So my vertex is a 3 comma negative 1. All right, so I'm going to graph it on the next slide. All right, so now I'm going to graph this. Okay, So I'm going to grab my vertex, which is at 3, -1. And then I have both intercepts at x equals 2 and x equals 4. So I go ahead and draw my parabola, and I'm done. So I can call it a day. So that's if you want to factor it as opposed to making a table. That's the difference between the two.